But the point is, what and who is in control of the two laws, so they can be in synchronicity, like a fountainhead. Some fall back into the cycle, and some are liberated. They are the result of the two laws. The ones who obey the law of limitation, they are contained, they are fixed within the cycles. And so, but nobody talk about the law of liberation, to bring out the power. Besides ceremonies, but the most important ceremony, right, is for this most important temple, and that is eating. Eating is the most sacred ceremony. Neglect the ceremony, and all the other ceremonies don't mean much. Right? So, the fountainhead, I explain here. I call this the mystery egg. Maybe it correlates with the mystery egg that the Hopi talk about. The fountainhead of creation. So here is a question mark that is not is for us to internally question, but we never know the complete answer, because that has no polarity. It's the infinite possibilities, the great mystery. But from there, the 6 channels, that means 2 trinities. And these 2 trinities, the principle of everything that flows further from this fountainhead. And here we have a circle, the totality, and 5 points. That is the pentagram. And so what's the meaning of this? These 2 trinities are incorporated and synchronized in this pentagram. So here, there's one aspect of the pentagram, or the 5 points. You have a polarity, and a polarity, and a polarity, and a polarity, and a polarity, right? But because of the absence of a unifying center, these opposites become contradicting, become reactionary. So you get here a chain reaction. Right? I will make it enlarge here. So we have here the 5 points. Yeah. So you get a reaction. And to control this reaction, we have to do it within the context of the totality of creation. The oneness. This is the oneness. And it is illustrated here in the form of a circle, but that circle can only exist, right, by the center. So this is the control. This is what we have to master through evolution in this human body, this control center. I will come to that. But to have a circle, you need a circular relationship, right? Or maintenance. So here the opposites are reactionary, but by a center in between the opposites, now we have a catalyst. It's like this. You have opposites and you have a center. And by the trinity, this here, 1, 2, 3, right? We can have a harmonious relationship between opposites. That's the center that we have to find within ourselves. But it's all laid out all in creation. So the Trinity here, I'll come to that, it's laid out in this pentagram. And so here we have a polarity, but it has a unifying center. So what you create then is a circular, here you have polarity and a unifying center. So you have here a circular, a total, harmonious relationship, right, between the polarities. So you have two types of polarities. One is a polarity, or trinities, trinity. One is a trinity that maintains the opposites, and one is a trinity, and here, by the lack of this unifying center, but it's still part of the trinity, but it's lacking, is absent, opposites become contradicting. So these are the two trinities, one with a unifying center and one with a disunifying center. Right? But we need the trinity, but the trinity in its primitive form is so-called reactionary, explosive. Science calls this the Big Bang. So we have here the duality, that the two laws are released and one is expanding. Right? This is one trinity and one is contracting. That's the other trinity. But in the beginning we have the reactionary, that means the instant, because the center is not present yet. It has to develop. It has to develop through an evolutionary process and finally within the human. So in the beginning we get this called Big Bang, and this creative force that's released from this Fontaine-head, right, appears as energy or vibration or frequency. And so sporadically every time, right, when we get this expansion, contraction, it's like a pump, right? This Fontaine-head is driven by a pump and the energy is flowing out by the force, but then that force builds up. And so sporadically we come to the final, most dense at this point on this planet Earth through the human. Right? And so this unifying center, that's the heart. So that's why we have been given this symbol, but it's not only a symbol, it's a code. That represents the whole process is encoded in this symbol. So it begins with the oneness, we get the polarization here, and in the extreme, the two become one. But to come back to the oneness, it has to happen by consciousness, and we need the memory, this progression from the Fontaine-head all the way to this heart. That is evolution. That's so gradually, right, we evolve in the vertical. So the horizontal changes into the vertical. And what horizontal means? Horizontal is simply, right, being part of the circumference. So, but there is no straight line, there's no really horizontal, it's always a curve. Everything is curved, right, but we call it horizontal. So the horizontal, here is why we have the evolution, to prepare ourselves to get the power, right, to bring forth the power from within. And so, that's why we have also polarity on the earth, like east, west, north, south. So the east-west correlates with the horizontal, like the right brain and the left brain. But then, right, it is the human has the responsibility to change, right, the temporary, the horizontal into the circle. And so how do we do that? At inception or conception, right, the first organ begins with the heart, in the mother's womb. The first 8 days you see a circle, that's the head, right, and in the head, heaven and earth meet. Because heaven connects here with this polarity and earth connects with this polarity. The polarity. So inner heaven and inner earth. Inner polarity in the extreme is here in the womb area, but everyone has it, the small intestine, where the food changes into the blood, and the opposite, that's the brain. Inner heaven, inner earth. When they meet the first time, that's upon conception, that happens in the head. The heart, right, is the final point, all the way from the fountainhead, right? And so heaven and earth meet here upon conception in mother's womb, in our head, and pulsates. So heart pulsates by this interaction, by the inner Big Bang, you may say. The inner Big Bang, right, makes the heart pulsate. And then it is up to us using our potentials, our intelligence, logic, right, and the will, right, to make a choice, to come deeper and deeper, deeper, deeper in the meeting point of inner heaven and inner earth. That's the point zero. That is coming back to the source and go beyond. That means we can extend ourselves infinitely, right, beyond the fountain. But we have to go to the fountainhead and have this process, right, of enjoying, experiencing the fountain, the water play, and finally, poof, right, escape the fountain basin and become a cloud, right, and wander endlessly wherever you want to go. And that is happening today. So, we have this pulsation, experience right now, please. Feel your heart, feel your pulsation, you see? It's this. Heaven and earth, poof, coming together, pulsating. But now, how to come to the very center, how to come to the point zero, right? We need the memory. See, this is the heart, right? The 2 points. And we need the memory that is, right, by food. And that food can transcend fountainhead to fountainhead. So we have 3 fountainheads. First, fountainhead is the source. All of creation emerges from there. And then the fountainhead inside. And finally you come to this fountainhead of the heart. Right? And poof. And it correlates also with another fountainhead, it's the brain. Poof. 7th chakra. And we can make a choice through the heart. That means the heart has to control the mind. And that's the whole point of these 2 laws. These 2 laws, like I illustrated in this circle, the 5 points, right, have to be synchronized from the center. So we can use both laws, but the dominant law, change, has to come from the center. That is change. While the other one is the chain reaction, that is against change, because it try to cancel out one another, because it's competition. And so, or war or disease, right, cannot flow in. And that's so many people have this competition inside, it's not flowing. Right, so they create tumors and they call it cancer, right? Or lack of expression, to be free. That means today, more and more, we are limited by anti-speech. That means not having the freedom to speak. Right? There are laws, because you cannot say this, you cannot think that. Right? So anything that can make us free, including free thinking, free speech, free relationship with the Creator. So in America, you have many states, they cannot have free water from the rain. When you collect the rain on your roof, you're a criminal. You cannot do that. It's against the law, because it's not free. I've seen what's happening now in America, maybe some other countries. A lady grow beautiful garden, right, on her property, food, right, to eat her food that she can grow, and that's illegal. So the police come, right, and destroy the whole garden, including some fruit trees, because it was illegal. Right? To have the freedom to be free. Right? So, and why this is happening? Because it's all the build-up of us, right, having forgotten to live by the law, that we apply to ourselves first. So, of course, I don't think it's an overnight process that we can right away be liberated the whole world. But they have to begin somewhere. They have to begin with understanding what is the law of these two laws and how to apply the law of creation, of Creator, to ourselves first. All right? So, if this makes sense, please share this with the world. I'm Roy Littleson. And my last message is, all is one. Bye-bye.